This is a tire rotation video for a 2017 Honda CR-V. There are two main types of tires. There are directional tires and symmetrical tires, and these are symmetrical, meaning that they're all the same and they'll go on either side of the vehicle, whereas a directional tire will have a rotation symbol on the sidewall that lets you know that it has to stay on the side of the vehicle it's on. So if you had directional tires, you would simply rotate the front tire to the back and the back tire to the front on the same side of the vehicle, meaning that you would only have to jack up one side of the vehicle at a time. But these are symmetrical tires, and so that what we will do with the rotation is we'll take the front tire and put it on the back, and we'll take the back tire and crisscross it to become the front tire on the opposite side, and then we'll take that front tire, put it on the back, and take that back tire and crisscross it to the front on the opposite side. And so to do that, we will be jacking up the whole vehicle. And so the first step that you want to not forget to do is to loosen the lug nuts. And on this 2017 CR-V, the lug nuts are 19 millimeter. And if you have a key to prevent wheel theft, you will have one lug nut that looks different than the others. This one right here takes a special key. So you're going to want to find your socket before you get started. And so it looks like this. This is my key that I have. And so I have my 19 millimeter socket. And so this will loosen all the lug nuts except for the ones with this, where you would put that into the end of the socket and then loosen it that way. So what I've done already is I've used this breaker bar to give me enough torque, and I've loosened all the lug nuts, just barely, because they loosen easy when you have the weight of the vehicle on the ground. But if you forget and you jack the vehicle up first, then it becomes a problem unless you have an air wrench, or sometimes an impact driver will work. I do have an impact driver. I do not recommend using it to either torque or loosen lug nuts. I just prefer a breaker bar, and then I have my torque wrench here. And on this particular vehicle, it's 80 foot-pounds, so I already have it set to 80 foot-pounds. And also, never use a torque wrench to loosen. It's hard on them, and so it's better just to use a breaker bar to loosen and a torque wrench to tighten. And so what the impact driver is good for is, once you have them loosened like I do, once I get it jacked up, I can easily use that now to quickly remove the lug nuts. And so the next step is to jack up the vehicle. And so the front jack point is up here, and you could use one jack. I just happen to have two, so I'm going to use two. But let me just show you the jack placement for the front. It's way on underneath there, and you can see where it's at right there. So there's a spot right there to jack the front of the vehicle up. So we'll jack it up, and then we'll put the front jack stands in place. And then after that, we will jack the back of the vehicle up. And you might want to check before you get started to make sure that your jack is high enough, because this rear jack point is this tow hook in the back, which is nice because it's easy to get to, but it's quite a stretch once you get the vehicle off the ground. And so I ended up getting rid of a low profile jack that I had from my last car, which had a low ground clearance, and replaced it with this one. So anyway, that's what I'm going to do now, is jack up the front of the vehicle, put those jack stands in place, and then jack up the rear of the vehicle and get the whole vehicle off the ground. Okay, so now we have all four jack stands in place so that all the tires are just barely off the ground. And then we have the front jack resting on its jack point as a safety measure, but we have all the jack stands in place, and we have this other jack resting also on its jack point as a safety measure. So now we're going to put some gloves on, and we're going to remove the lug nuts, remove all 4 tires, and then put them in their proper place, and then put them all back on. So we're going to do that now. Okay, so all of the tires have been removed and placed in their new position. And one thing I did was I just took some brake clean spray and just sprayed it on the lugs and the brakes, and just a quick spray. You don't have to do that. It just cleans them up a little bit. And the other thing I mentioned, I use an impact driver to just go ahead and help. Just want to clarify that that's not necessary. Any drill where you can attach your 1/2-inch socket will work, because I'm not using it as an impact driver. I'm just using it to remove the lugs completely after they're already loosened with the breaker bar. So now that when I put them back on, I will use it once I hand start them, so that I know they're threaded right. I'll start them by hand, the lugs, and then I'll just use that to get them on until they make some initial contact at low speed, and then I will do it by hand, and then I'll wait and torque it and finish it up once the car has been lowered and the jack stands and everything are off and the regular weight of the vehicle. Wait till it's off of the jack stands to finish tightening them, but you'll tighten them most of the way while it's lifted enough to where they're snug, and then torque them when it's on the ground. So now we're going to put the wheels on and finish it up. Alright, so we snugged up the lug nuts, we lowered it down to the ground, and then we used the torque wrench to tighten every lug to 80 foot-pounds. Now that it's on the ground, we're going to check the tire pressure. So right inside your front door jamb right here, you'll see that the front tires are to be set at 33 psi and the rear to 30 psi. Alright, we're done. We have 33 pounds of pressure in the front and 30 in the rear, and we're all done. I hope that was helpful to you.